Now, with that, I'll hand it over to Graham and we'll get started.
Thanks, Sean. Yeah, so as Sean mentioned, I'm Graham Holmes. I'm the product manager from SolutionAir. Today, I'm just going to bring you through what we do at SolutionAir, who we are, how we fit into Price Industries as our parent company, and then we'll jump into products. So we'll go through our air handling line, talk about our RegenCore product. That's the energy recovery product that Sean mentioned, and then get into a few more what I call bespoke products. So our lab exhaust boxes that we developed with Buckley, and then we'll touch on a data center exhaust project that we've done as well, which really demonstrates Price's capability as a whole and how there's quite an advantage for going with a price-based company because we have so many other departments that can come together and really fulfill a project's requirements. But with that, I'll jump right into it. So SolutionAir is based out of Winnipeg, Manitoba. It's about 20 minutes away from the main Price headquarters. We have two facilities. First, our EGES facility. This is our main assembly plant. It has technical center in there. It has a training room in there. Out on the floor, we do have a great climate chamber that we use to test all of our cabinetry, the effectiveness of our units and performance of our units. So that is always a great highlight for our development team. And then as well this year, we expanded and got a second 40,000 square foot production space. We moved all of our fabrication, so that's our brake machines, lasers, foam machines, and so on. We moved those over to that facility. We've also increased capacity of our workforce, so we've gone from 1 shift up to 3 shifts, so we're now working 24 hours around the clock, 7 days a week as well. And in all, in 2024, we're going to have 6 times the production capacity that we had this year in 2023. Additionally, we've now switched over our wet paint for our units to a powder coating. Price main headquarters open up a new powder coat line. So we're now going with the B12 white, which is Price's standard white. And that has improved durability of our paint. It has reduced our lead time and cost on it, and it's reduced the environmental impact as well. So very easy choice to make, making that swap. So jumping into it here on our products, we take our air handler line and we split it up into 2 main groups. We have our rooftop units, which are gas fired, and then we have the catch-all air handler units here. Within the rooftop units, we have 2 different types of gas-fired products. We have direct fired and we have indirect fired. Within indirect fired, we have 2 different heat exchangers. We have a drum and tube heat exchanger that we manufacture in-house at SolutionAir. And then we have a convoluted tube heat exchanger, and that actual whole gas assembly is a purchased product from one of our suppliers. So looking at the drum and tube product, we can go up to 60,000 CFM with a 3-pass model or 90,000 CFM with a 4-pass model. The only difference between those really is the number of times the products of combustion pass through that heat exchanger. It's very easy to identify if you have a 3-pass or a 4-pass model. With the 3-pass, your stack is going to be on the opposite side from your gas controls, and on a 4-pass, it'll be on the same side. In addition to that, all of those units are a 15-to-1 turndown ratio, a temp rise between 60 and 110 Fahrenheit, and a max discharge of 180 for the 3-pass or 160 for the 4-pass. For the convoluted tube heat exchanger, we have 2 options here. I'll start with the 80% efficient So typically we see a convoluted tube. The choice to go in that direction rather than a Drummond tube is typically just on the small end of the units. So the design heat output has a much lower initial limit. So 60 MBH in this case. The Drummond tube had 200 as its minimum, to give you a bit of an idea. As well as the design airflow are much lower. So with the 80%, we can go down to 500 CFM, all the way up to 44,000. The other reason to go with this is typically the footprint will be different than the Drummond tube. The Drummond tube will be a little thicker, so a little wider, and the convoluted tube will be a little stretched, so a little longer and skinnier. You see the turn down ratio is varying on these units. So because it is a bought or purchased module, depending on the number of modules you have in there, based on your airflow and based on how much heat you need, you're going to have a different stage of turn down depending on how many. For the 90% efficient, currently we are unable to offer this product, unfortunately. Our supplier is having supply issues with their secondary heat exchanger coil. And unfortunately, they have not been able to provide us that option. So we are currently in the works of trying to find another option for that 90% efficient. And then looking at the direct fired unit, so this goes up to 50,000 CFM, really great turn down ratio of 30:1. Typically, I see this as a cheap heat option. So we find it a lot of the time in kitchen ventilation when there's high air changes per hour, or often in industrial or transportation. So different bus garages will often have this style of unit in there if they're looking for a gas heat option. And then finally, our catch-all, our air handling line, we have multiple options with here. So heating, cooling coils, electric heat, we can add DX. We have a package DX product within SolutionAir, as well as we can add in energy recovery. So you can select units with wheels, changeover coils, heat pipes, and cross flow plates as well. And that goes all the way up to 110,000 CFM. But there are soft caps within that. So for wheels, for instance, we tend to cap out around 20 to 30,000 CFM, just based on the size of the wheel exceeding our factory's capabilities once you start getting above that point. Jumping into a couple examples here that we've actually done with the Buckley Group. So 64 Pleasant Street, this was a very large job for us a few years ago. So last revision on this job was in 2021. Great lab job for us. There's 2 different styles of units, 6 total units. So this one is 8,500 CFM. It had a Drummond tube heat exchanger in there, so a 4-pass Drummond tube heat exchanger in there. It had cold water coils. It had a changeover coil as well. And then there was also the 12,500 CFM version of that. Same style of unit, just larger CFM. Some nice pictures of there. You can see the Drummond tube over on the right, a few of the coils within the middle, quite large units. And this is our old paint. So this was our wet coat paint. And you'll see the updated paint. So this one's a little more beige or smoker's white. Another great project for us with the Buckley Group was 599 Somerville, 20,000 CFM job, energy recovery coil in there, hot water, chilled water coil within there. No gas on this unit, but excellent job there. And this is the newer version of our paint, so much brighter white. Another good one, 640 Memorial Drive, much smaller of a unit, so 5,000 CFM, but did include package DX. So we had an electric coil and control box in there. We had package DX with hot gas reheat as well, for the tempering side of things. Great project there. And then another small one, so 1425 CFM. This is a wheel unit, which is quite obvious from the drawings here, but also included a steam hot water coil, cold water coil in there too. So much smaller guy. And then our largest unit we've done with Buckley, Spec Lab. So package DX included, hot gas reheat included, had a humidifier grid in there. Additionally, it had a few coils too. So yeah, very complex unit, well, very large unit. I think this was probably one of the largest units we've done in our factory, well over 460 inches long, all assembled. But yeah, excellent job. And then talking about our cabinetry for our air handling line. So we do standardize around a 2-inch polyurethane foam injected double walled panel. The outer casing on that is going to be 18 gauge as standard, and the inner liner is 22 gauge as standard, but there are options for that gauge. Additionally, we can have wash down units. We can have aluminum units as well. Can do aluminum checker plate on the inside. We offer bases and roof curbs for our units. They can be horizontal as shown in the picture here, but we can also do vertical style units as well. And then for inlet and discharge directions, top, bottom, side, horizontal, whatever is necessary for the space really are all options. For our DX offering, we go from 8 tons up to 128 tons. Always have a digital scroll leading compressor on there, so it's fully modulating throughout. But from 8 to 12 tons, you get 2 stages, and from 14 to 128, you get 4 stages of capacity there. Additionally, we standardize around a higher ambient rating condenser motor. So ours, its rating is 158 Fahrenheit. Typically, it's around 131. We find that with that higher ambient rating, those condenser motors have a little more longevity, which is a bonus for us in our eyes. Additionally, we've standardized around EX valves instead of TX valves. Just allows all the information from that refrigeration circuit to be brought up on our controller. We also do have options of sending in remote modem controllers so that we can tie into those controllers, and our tech support from Winnipeg is able to view that refrigeration circuit and try and identify any issues within it remotely. So that's another great bonus for us. And then another great example unit here, and a plug for Price at the same time. So Price Industries has opened up a HEPA filter manufacturing plant. In case anyone was not aware, we now sell HEPA filters as well within Price. And SolutionAir provided the unit for that space. So it's a 5,500 square foot manufacturing room within Winnipeg. And we needed to provide 12,000 CFM of indirect fired air handler. There was a max humidity of 70% allowable in that space. And we achieved that with a remote DX package with hot gas reheat. Also, there's an economizer section within the unit, but all in all, it was shipped in 5 segments or sections, shipped off to the Winnipeg's main plant at Price headquarters, and assembled on the roof. So just a bit of recap here. We've covered all of this, but it just kind of checks through everything. So I can jump through this pretty quickly. And then we'll jump into RegenCore. So first off, I have a video here.
SolutionAir's foundation of product development has always been science validated through rigorous testing. This unwavering commitment to R&D has led to the creation of SolutionAir's environmental chamber, a $500,000 investment that allows us to test up to 40 degrees Celsius and down to minus 40 degrees Celsius. This facility has allowed for the development of RegenCore, the industry's only high-effectiveness energy recovery unit with fully tested indoor and outdoor performance data. RegenCore is a high-effectiveness energy recovery unit, recovering sensible and latent energy during both heating and cooling seasons. In cold climates with traditional energy wheel systems, a form of defrost is needed to prevent cold outdoor air from freezing the device. With RegenCore, no preheat is required, down to outdoor air temperatures of minus 40 degrees Celsius. During the first cycle, Core 1 stores heat from the building exhaust air, while Core 2 releases heat previously stored to condition the cold outdoor supply air. In cycle 2, the dampers are repositioned, allowing Core 1 to release the heat it captured and stored during cycle 1, and Core 2 recovers heat from the exhaust air. RegenCore provides industry-leading sensible effectiveness rates, up to 92%. The 4-damper design can enable separate modes: economizer mode, recirculation mode, and standby mode. The unit's energy efficiency and no preheat requirement allow all downstream heating and cooling mechanisms to be downsized, leading to additional savings. SolutionAir is thrilled to bring this groundbreaking energy recovery solution to the market. We welcome anyone who wants to learn more about our product development and manufacturing, service offering, or research and development process to visit our research and technical centers in Winnipeg to experience the SolutionAir way of doing business themselves. To learn more about RegenCore, please visit solutionairgroup.com.
All right, so not sure how well that video worked throughout there. My audience view here was getting a little choppy, so I'll cover exactly what RegenCore is right now anyways. All RegenCore is a 3-component product. So there's the main cores, which are pleated aluminum that is corrugated, so it's stacked on top of each other. They act as thermal batteries. All they are doing is capturing energy from your return air and then processing, discharging that heat back into your supply air. Then you have 2 fans, and then you have the brains of the unit, which is really the damper section within the middle. So your return air will go through one set of cores, warming it up as you're drawing outside air through an already pre-warmed set of cores, and then depleting that core. And after about 70 to 90 seconds, depending on the unit, that damper switches the paths and changes which core is being heated and which core is being used as reheat. So comparing it to other energy recovery technologies, the huge benefit with RegenCore is the sensible effectiveness, up to usually around 90–91%, and the no requirement for preheat, down to -40. So we've tested this within our climate chamber, and the unit still works at the expected sensible effectiveness, all the way down to -40 without any preheat. One consideration with this type of technology, though, is the carryover leakage that you're going to have. So within the unit, when that damper swaps, any air from that damper section until outside is going to be brought back in and recirculated into your space. So if you have an indoor unit, that will include your duct section from that core all the way to the outside. but even with indoor units, it tends to be below 4% carryover leakage. We do have many different configurations, many different sizes of these units. So we go from 250 CFM all the way up to 40,000 CFM. Some of those are indoor units. All of them can be used indoor. Some of them are outdoor units as well. So splitting this in half, the PRC LC and the Flex are indoor only. They go from 250 up to 2,000 CFM. And then the standard, which is pictured at the top right, and the X unit can be both indoor and outdoor units, typically outdoor because of their size. The standard unit goes up to 22,500. The X is from 20,000 to 40,000 CFM. This year we launched our Flex unit. It is essentially the same thing as our other units, but it's deconstructed and ducted on site. So within the picture here, you have the 2 core banks on either side of those arms. And then between them, you have your fans and damper section. Those can be placed in any manner, so in any direction or orientation. It can be hung upside down from a ceiling space as well, and with access panels beneath it. And then it's ducted however it needs to be as well. So this has decreased weight of the unit because there is less cabinetry, cost of the unit because there's less cabinetry and everything else, and allows a degree of flexibility that wasn't really there with our other units. So it can be tucked away where there is space within often mechanical rooms where they struggle quite a bit with space, we found. And then additionally, we've come out with a 4th component to this as well. So going back to carryover leakage and the mention of an indoor unit, it counting the duct after those core sets all the way to an outside wall is how long your carryover leakage is going to be. When that starts to become an issue, this dedicated path product, which is a 4th box, becomes attractive. Essentially, it closes the loop within your carryover leakage amount and provides dedicated outdoor air intake and a dedicated exhaust path from your unit. And it's inside there is just another set of dampers to allow that to happen. We did test it within -40 in the middle of summertime in Winnipeg. So a few employees were going in to cool off during their shifts, which is pictured there at the bottom left, which I always find funny. But we had to test it down to that to ensure that when we had really cold air coming in and warm, typically high humidity air in the worst case scenario, which is what we tested for, crossing paths, that the condensate was managed properly. And so we did achieve that, which is great. Another short video here on the Flex to give you a bit better idea if it works, hopefully.
SolutionAir's unwavering commitment to product development has led our team of talented engineers to create the RegenCore Flex, an all-new, ultra-compact, indoor, high-effectiveness energy recovery unit. Delivering industry-leading energy recovery rates up to 90% and no preheat requirement to outdoor temperatures of -40 degrees, the RegenCore Flex has been rigorously tested in our state-of-the-art psychrometric chamber, providing precise performance data on heating and cooling operations. The RegenCore Flex features a 2-stage energy recovery process. During the first stage, Core A stores heat from the building exhaust, while Core B releases heat previously stored to condition the cold outdoor supply air. In stage 2, the dampers are repositioned, allowing Core A to release the heated air captured and stored during stage 1, while Core B recovers heat from the exhaust. The 4-damper design also enables economizer mode, which uses outdoor air for cooling, leading to additional savings. Engineered to the highest standard, the RegenCore Flex features a compact and lightweight design, making it the ideal energy recovery solution wherever space is at a premium. No matter what your space demands, the RegenCore Flex delivers industry-leading energy recovery performance in any direction and configuration imaginable. Fully tested and ready to ship, SolutionAir is thrilled to bring this groundbreaking energy recovery solution to the market. To learn more about RegenCore Flex, please visit solutionairgroup.com.
All right, so hopefully that worked well. RegenCore Flex we found is a very popular product so far. So if you're interested, please feel free to ask questions or to get in touch with Sean or myself. Additional features and options on RegenCore. So on the standard unit, on all units but the Flex, we can really build that supply tunnel into a full air handler. So we can put in MERV 8 filters up to MERV 14 though. We can add in heating, cooling, changeover water coils. We can add in electric coils as well. We can do package DX on there. We can put our gas furnace modules as well. So really build it out into a full package. But on all RegenCores, we've standardized around the low leak Tamco 1500 dampers. We high cycle tested those, so changing every second, so a swap every second within our factory for 9 months without failure, which simulates, I believe, somewhere between 7 to 10 years of operation, depending on your cycle timing. So we're very confident in our current linkage assembly and gear motors that we're using. For controls on these units, standard, we do have a Corel controller with backnet capability, but there are options for what I call dumb controllers. So they're there and they'll just be an on-off style controller that will just allow the unit to run. For fans and motors, we usually do AC with VFD as standard, but EC fan arrays are available, as well as direct drive plenum backward curve fans. And then for the cabinet, so on the standard units, we use a post and panel style of cabinetry, 2-inch foam injected panels, much the same as our other ones with our air handlers. But importantly here, and what I find with this style of unit, is we use a thermally broken post. So when we were testing at extreme temperatures without a thermally broken post, we found that there was frost propagation from the corners of the unit. And then once putting in that thermally broken post, it eliminated it completely. We did also test thermally broken panels, but did not find the same importance within those, and found it wasn't very cost effective overall. So thermally broken posts are something I would highly recommend that you make sure your energy recovery unit in this fashion has. Other cabinetry options, so we do 22 gauge inner and outer liner here. As I mentioned, it's 2-inch polyurethane foam injected panels. Floor coverings, we can do aluminum checker plate. We can do full wash down units as well. We can offer these units painted, unpainted galv, or aluminum. So there are some options within there. We do provide a base on all of these units. We also can provide roof curbs and inlet and discharge. We can do top, bottom, side as well. When we find these units on roofs, we find bottom discharge has become quite popular. So it avoids the necessity of having insulated ductwork on that roof and allows for a bit easier of an install from what we found. So that's what we have on RegenCore. Jumping into our more niche products or bespoke products, I guess. And first and foremost, our lab exhaust plenums. So this was developed specifically for the group at Buckley. They were selling lots of GreenHeck vector fans and having difficulty getting an energy recovery plenum for them. We were happy to step in and build a box and put a coil in it. It's very within our realm of capabilities, very much so, but has led to quite a few successful projects with the Buckley group. So we've got very good lead time on these, typically around 15, 16 weeks. We're very confident in our construction with them. We match the GreenHeck paint, so we use GreenHeck's actual paint, so it's rated the same as well. We brought in the GreenHeck fans, did a little mating at our factory to ensure everything was lined up properly. And since doing that once, we've just sent units to the field and haven't had any issues connecting them to the GreenHeck fans so far. So really easy project for us, but has been a great success with the group at Buckley and other SolutionAir reps who are oftentimes GreenHeck reps. So it's worked out quite nicely. So a couple examples, 32,000 CFM unit. This was for 50 Sylvan. Additionally, we did the follow-up units at 60 Sylvan. IQHQ, so 20,000 CFM here. And we've gone up to, I think, over 100,000 CFM on these style of units. That was for a job out in Vancouver, I believe. So there is quite a range, and we will match basically anything the vector fans can throw at us. And then the last project I'd like to show off here, and this is more of an example for how price can come together as a large company and provide one solution to a customer. So we had a large data center manufacturer approach us looking for a way to provide, well, to exhaust air from their system, from their building, with noise reduction in comparison to upblast fans. So their facilities were starting to be encroached by neighborhoods, and they wanted to avoid complaints and things like that from the noise. So they approached us about this unit. Additionally, it needed water management involved, and our solution here was to have a bottom fed unit, turn the air 90 degrees, and fire it out the top again. We did extensive CFD testing on this within our design. We did a lot of water testing. We did noise testing as well. So we joined forces, not only, it wasn't only SolutionAir, we joined forces with Price Noise Control and Price Predict, who is our CFD analysis team, with the goal of reducing the pressure drop on these units as much as possible. Yeah, so the CFD team, Price Predict, they came back to us with a few suggestions. So we added a block off on the intake side. We added a different style of turning vanes within the turn here, bit of a block off at the top, and then a bell mouth outlet on the exit. In addition to that, we also offset the bottom fan. So it's a 4-fan array here, and we offset the bottom to allow, or to kind of induce more of that curve of the airflow through there. In the end, we had to also test these units. So we had 3 factory test visits from the client. We had to flip the unit on its side to provide a 20-foot long duct section into the bottom of the unit. This was to get laminar flow through there and act as if it was on site. And ultimately, our goal was for 68,000 CFM at max output on the fans, and we were able to achieve 75,000 CFM. So quite a bit of a boost, and for the number of units that this client will have, marginal gains are huge in the end. So they were very happy with that. And that's it. That's all I have to show off today. Are there any questions at all?
Thank you, Graham. Yeah, we have some questions here. I'll go through them, starting from the earliest ones and working our way down to the most recent ones. First one is when specifying a furnace, how do you recommend deciding between the drum and tube versus the convoluted tube?
So yeah, there's a few things in there. So drum and tube tends to be more popular. I think it's more economical. So if you can work with drum and tube sizing and everything like that, I think that's your first choice. Within our offering, you'll get a bit of a wider unit, so unit footprint is considered in there, compared to a convoluted tube, which is a little longer kind of stretch, so thinner. And then where you would use convoluted tube is usually on the smaller end of things. So it has a much lower minimum output compared to our drum and tube. So you're able to still modulate at that low end of heat much better. So that's usually where we see the two.
Okay, and then the next question is about the controller archetype that you guys use. What type of controller do you guys use? The protocol, manufacturer, all that stuff.
So yeah, we use a Corel controller. We're looking at Schneider as well for the future, as there being, supply issues with basically every controller in the world over the last few years. Yeah, we can connect to any sort of BMS, typically BACnet, but Modbus as well. Yeah, without issue on that.
Perfect. And then are there any options available to measure or monitor energy performance on any of these products?
We do offer airflow monitoring on our products. I'm sure you could put in temperature sensors in there as well, and we could, beef that up into a bit of an energy modeling style of thing. Yeah. With RegenCore, we'll have airflow monitoring to ensure that the cores aren't getting blocked in extreme cold temperatures. Mm-hmm. So I'll give you an example. We provided a unit to the Northwest Territories, which is very north in Canada, very cold. And they were using supply air or return air from their space, but it was only heated to about 60 Fahrenheit, something like that. So it was colder than normal return air. So with colder than normal return air and extremely cold outdoor air, the cores weren't getting fully regenerated and were having ice blockage within it. So we added an airflow monitoring station in there. So as those cores tend to start blocking, we had a few options. We could either ramp up the fan and force it through to still get the same amount of airflow, or we could change the damper timing on there, which does reduce your effectiveness of the unit, but it won't let the cores get that cold and will continue to operate.
Sure.
So there's a bit of an example on how we can manage things there.
Yeah, perfect. I'm assuming this is a no, but Build America, Buy America.
We're built in Canada, unfortunately. So yeah. We can, a lot of our source components can come from the States too. So I'm not completely familiar with how strict that is.
I think it's becoming more and more strict. So I would be very, very shocked.
Yeah.
Okay, so moving on to a little bit of well, first I'll jump on this one. Manufacturer installation support required. Do you guys require that? I can also speak to that as well. We have, Buckley has a team of technicians that are Buckley employees, and they're all factory certified to work on these and service these as well. So that's what we would do in this situation to help the installation or any services that you need.
Yeah, I would say 95 or higher % of the jobs we do not have the necessity for a SolutionAir employee to be on site. and Buckley is capable of taking care of those.
Perfect. Okay, for the RegenCore, do the cores change temperature while they are exchanging heat? Does that change the heat transfer characteristics during the operation?
So you'll see a bit of a fluctuation, but only a few degrees. And we tune the damper swap to an appropriate amount of time so that it's pretty level throughout that. So the cores never get fully cold. There will always still be some heat in there. In a perfect ideal world, it would always be room temperature on the inside of the unit and outdoor temperature on the outside of the unit. Unfortunately, it doesn't quite work like that, but it is very close.
Perfect. And then speaking on those dampers, there's a question here on the life expectancies and then maintenance should be, or what kind of maintenance are required on these?
With our new linkage kit, we've seen really high success rate, quite a longevity on these. So I guess I'll just go into kind of all maintenance on these units. So the cores themselves are a lifetime on the unit. The oldest unit we've ever sold, when we wanted to update all the options, it was for our Edmonton office. They reused the same cores as the original unit. They didn't buy new. The dampers themselves, the Tamco dampers, I would assume last very long time. I haven't seen those replaced either without some sort of significant physical damage from something or other. And then it comes down to the linkage kit, really, and the motors involved. I don't think there's a huge need. It would be kind of seasonal maintenance on more of a checkup than anything. We're really confident in what we have there now, being able to last the lifetime of the unit. But mechanical parts do need replacing every once in a while, so it would just be seasonal checkup and if there are issues with the unit.
Yeah, pretty much same as a regular energy recovery method, pretty similar. And then lastly, go ahead.
I mean, in comparison, there's no like rubber gasketing like you would have with a wheel to ensure that seal or something that would lose over time. That's not really a concern as it is with other stuff like that. But yeah, for the most part, Sean, you're right.
Yeah. And then last question here would be filters on the cores. Do we need to filter those cores, or how do we clean those? How often do they need to be cleaned? How easily are they cleaned?
They get cleaned every 90 seconds on the swap. So due to the reversing airflow through there, very rarely need to be cleaned. If you're up there doing seasonal maintenance, maybe you check and look to see if there's any large amount of debris, but typically we don't see anything. As for filters, we usually just go with, Mervate pre-filter as standard, but that's on your supply air side, not on the cores. And then we have other filter options if we need more fine filter options on that supply air too.
Perfect. All right, well, I think that is all the questions I have. Want to thank you again, Graham. That was very informative, and we appreciate you joining us today. I hope that everyone on here enjoyed today's webinar and got something useful out of it. Again, if you do have any questions, do not hesitate to reach out to your local Buckley rep. And then with that, I hope everyone has a great rest of the day and happy holidays. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, everyone.